I've been living in Poland for the last 6 months, and I can say without a doubt, Polish women are some of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in the world. If you take a look at Western media, Slavic women get painted as poor, gold diggers, and very easy women. This is so far from the truth. I've interacted with many Polish people from all around the country. I wanted to share a little bit about what I've learned about the culture and why I'm personally so in love with Polish women. So I want to talk about it from many aspects. The first thing I want to touch upon is the physical beauty. Coming from Latin America, where the standard of beauty was a little more curvy, specifically Colombia, there was a lot of women that got plastic surgery for their bodies. Going back to Asia, where the standard of beauty is a lot more thin, I feel like Slavic women are a nice balance of the two. They're not too curvy, they're not too fit, they're a lot more natural here. In my opinion, they have the nicest bodies in the world. So I'm gonna talk about this from a guy's point of view, so I hope I don't offend anybody with this. I'm more of a boob guy myself, but man, the Polish butt is one of the nicest butts that I've ever seen in my life. And I say that with all due respect because the women here tend to walk a lot, they skate everywhere. In general, I believe Europeans are very beautiful, not just from a physical standpoint because of the education system and how close they are to other countries. They are generally a lot more educated, intelligent. Many of them speak more than one language, if not 3 or more. Here in Europe, in general, you're going to find a more slender body, and that's because the food here is a lot healthier than it is in the US. Europe in general favors a more walking and active lifestyle. Infrastructure of European cities is made with walking and public transportation in mind. Here specifically in Krakow, it's a very fit city, especially over the weekends. People are generally out with their family and friends playing sports or walking or playing in the park. That's something that I feel like is very lost in the US. If you guys are enjoying the video, consider pressing that like button and subscribing, and it lets me know which kinds of videos you guys are more interested in. The Slavic beauty standard is quite high. I think the Polish women are a little more relaxed compared to a place like Ukraine, where I think the beauty standard in Ukraine is much higher, with skincare and getting their nails done and making sure they're overall presented very well. Slavic women in general tend to take care of themselves, at least when they're young, right? I think there's an argument that can be made that once Polish people probably get into their late 30s and 40s, the typical Polish body is kind of like a muffin top with very skinny legs. If you guys have been here, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But for the people around my age in their 20s or in university, it is so rare to find somebody who is overweight. When I was in the US, the obesity and overweight issue is so big, but it really takes me living in another place like Colombia or Vietnam or here to really understand what people are supposed to look like. One of the downsides of Slavic women though is that they tend to age very poorly. This is just white people in general. My standards for aging are quite high because as an Asian, right, I'm 29, but with the right haircut and when I shave, I look like I'm 21. Black don't crack and Asian don't raisin, baby.
Well, you know what they say. True beauty
Black
is ageless.
don't crack.
Slavic people don't share that same privilege, unfortunately. General Slavic lifestyle also adds to their aging. Slavic people love to drink and smoke a lot, and this includes the women. And I think this, coupled with their genetics, makes them age a lot quicker. Something that I also like about the women here is that they tend to be a lot more natural. Polish girls tend to be a little bit more on the curvier side compared to other Slavic women. In Ukraine and Russia, there are a lot of women that get a lot of plastic surgery with the face, specifically with the lip. I don't like that at all. But here in Poland, that doesn't seem to be as common. You can see a lot of Polish girls rocking the whole sweats and baggy pants and not really caring look, but I would say for the most part in general, Slavic women do present themselves really well, especially if they're Ukrainian. Ukrainian women will almost always look really good. Here in Poland, and especially Ukraine, the diversity of people is very high. Yes, they are all white and Slavic, but you can find people who are blonde, who have dark hair, who have red hair, who have light eyes, who have dark eyes. Thinner girls, you can find thicker girls. You guys can contact me and follow me on Instagram here. I don't mind answering a question or two, but any in-depth conversation will have to be through consultation. And you can schedule one using the Sent More link right here. Something I really appreciate about women from this side of the world is that they're just not easy or promiscuous. Yes, you can find women here who are only looking for sex, but that seems to be in the minority compared to places like the Scandinavian countries or the US, where the norm is hookup culture. Body count is important for me. I'm not saying that I want to be with a virgin, but I find it quite disgusting when women in the West promote the whole sexual liberation thing and are proud for sleeping with so many men and have a culture that promotes it. Just look at modern female rappers in the US and and look at everything that they're promoting. In Slavic countries and in Poland, the general culture pushes family and relationship. And I have definitely seen that. Polish women are very relationship oriented and they're not really dating around. That's something that I'm also looking for. So I feel like it's a good fit for this part of my life. Cheating does not seem to be as rampant as other places in the world, like Thailand or Colombia, or I would even say in the US. Whereas in Colombia, infidelity is like baked into the culture, and you can tell by how many love motels there are all around the country. I also think the fact that there are so many fathers present in the household also adds to the overall order of society. I think that also leads to the women being a lot more picky because of the values that they are taught by society and their parents from a very young age. There is a common myth out there that Americans everywhere in the world get treated kind of like first-class citizens. Maybe that's true with a certain kind of women in poor countries like the Philippines or Thailand or Colombia. Poland is a first world country in a lot of ways, so the women here are not going to be impressed by the fact that you're American. Americans here are treated quite well, but it doesn't give you an advantage. But I will try to play up the fact that I'm Chinese first because of the exotic factor. Asian culture and Polish culture are so similar. I think that kind of gives me a leg up rather than saying that I'm American. One of the big issues that I had with my ex-wife was I felt like our cultures were so opposite in so many ways. Something that I really love about Polish women and Slavic women in general, it's a very good cultural fit for East Asians. All of my Asian friends that are here who have Polish or Ukrainian partners all tell me the same thing. Our cultures are so similar. I talk about this all the time in my videos because of the Soviet and communism roots from all of these countries. We share similar values, a strong emphasis on social order and peace, valuing society over the individual, strong family values, and overall coldness when it comes to expressing emotions, a focus on hard work and education, cleanliness standards. It also surprised me, Polish people also take off their shoes before coming into the house. That to me is just perfect. A general understanding that the man is the man and the woman is the woman, even though here in Poland, it's a nice mix of traditional and modern, which I personally like. Cheating is also very heavily frowned upon, and divorce is not that common. As you go to Ukraine and Russia, divorce is a lot more common. Most of the people that I know grew up with both of their parents in the household. It's so funny talking to all of my Polish friends and how we were raised. I'll have a conversation with the Polish girl I'm seeing now, and I'll tell her about things that my dad did to me growing up, and she says that her mom is the exact same way. Emotional damage. Just because we are just generally a lot more cold and stoic, and I think it's good because it leads to a lot more emotional balance. The overall society is not very free and open. This is actually a big difference that I've seen between Ukrainians and Polish people. Polish people are a lot more like East Asians. People aren't really singing or dancing in public, whereas in Ukraine, people are a lot louder and a lot more free, and they'll play music and they'll dance, and they're just a lot more open. I also like how Polish people seem to be quite frugal. When I hang out with Polish people, I get flashbacks with how it is with my parents growing up in the US, and they even have their own version of the dumpling, which is not as good as the Chinese one, but I find that very interesting. Something I love about Slavic people is their emphasis on family values. It always makes me happy going to the park on the weekends and seeing the nuclear family all together. Latin America has a really big problem with single motherhood. That's a growing problem in the US as well. Here in the East in Poland, divorce and single motherhood seems to be very frowned upon. I think there is a pressure for Polish girls to find a husband. It's not as strong as Ukraine. Polish girls, because they're a little more westernized, will put that off a little more. But I think in general, their overall goal is still family and kids. Also, Polish hospitality is fantastic. There is a common saying where Polish people will take out a loan if they need to host their guests. So in a lot of ways, you can say that the women here are a lot more traditional. The Ukrainian girl expects more of the man to pay everything. Women here in Poland, there are 70% traditional and 30% more modern. And I would say that that's how I personally am as well. When I was in Colombia with my ex-wife, I paid for everything. So I took on that provider role, but my ex-wife didn't fulfill that traditional, I guess, woman role. Her culture and her surroundings did not promote or enforce that. Whereas here, because there are so many two-parent households everywhere, I think people have a better idea of what a traditional nuclear family is supposed to look like. And it's so refreshing being in this side of the world and having my masculine value and energy appreciated and valued. In the US, anything masculine is considered toxic masculinity nowadays, so I feel like I couldn't really be myself. In Colombia, my masculinity was valued as well, but the general society has such a distrust for men because of all the single mothers. Here, I feel like is a good balance of everything, where they do respect men and have good examples for what a present father is supposed to look like. I also find Slavic people to be extremely hardworking, and I think this comes from the Soviet roots and people trying to get it out of the mud. Ukrainian people tend to be a lot more ambitious than Polish people because the income disparity in Ukraine is a lot higher and it's generally a poorer country. Whereas in Poland, the middle class is quite wide here and it's a first world country in a lot of ways. There's a big emphasis on studies, on education, and hard work in general. And Polish people in Western Europe are the ones that go to do the cleaning and do the jobs that nobody else wants to do. And I just really love how safe it is in these countries. Also, I think Slavic women are very loyal. Cheating isn't really that common here. I haven't really heard it that much. People generally will just look for a long-term relationship and stay in that relationship. When I was in Colombia, men and women are in relationships. They're still kind of actively flirting with people. Whereas here, if you're in a relationship, it doesn't really go further than just like a hello, maybe just like a brief conversation. Something I really like too is that when people are in relationships, it's very common that they will buy apartments together and they'll live together, but it's almost like they're a unit, right? And I think that's like really a true partnership where they're trying to build something together. In the US, I feel like the culture is I build my thing, the woman builds her thing, and we're like this power couple together. Also, I think Polish women are a lot more open to interracial relationships. I know people from all races that date Polish women. There is a sentiment that I've heard that Polish people are racist, and I don't know if that's totally true. I think it's more that they're nationalistic and they like to protect their own culture. As an Asian person, maybe it's different because Asian people may get treated differently than other minorities. I felt like they've always been very open and welcoming to me. I think Polish people in general just have a general love and appreciation for Asians. Our cultures are so similar. Asians, when we migrate to a new place, we don't cause any issues really. We go, we're very hardworking, we set up really good restaurants, and we coexist very well no matter where we are all around the world. Because growing up in the US, the common stereotype is that Asian women will always get with the white guy, whereas here in Slavic countries, it seems to be more of the opposite, where you'll see more Asian men with Slavic women rather than Slavic men with Asian women, even though you see quite a bit of both here. I think a lot of attraction is based on exposure, and because the Soviet Union and China have such a long-standing history, we are just so familiar with each other and we see each other on TV and media. I also find it interesting that if you go to a place like Kazakhstan, for example, they are people that look like me and have like that half Asian, half white look, but they all speak Russian. And I think because we've been exposed to each other for so long, it's easy to build attraction. Keep in mind that this is my opinion and experience based on all of the research that I've seen so far. Everything I say in this video is quite accurate. I really believe that Polish women are some of the most beautiful women in the world. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing. If you guys have any questions about what it's like living here or dating, feel free to reach out to me here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.